Shafer,
Yeah.
I am so glad that you're here. Little bit of background for the audience, for those that don't know who you are, and to sort of frame up really why I'm so excited about this conversation. So you are a hunter,
Yep.
a firefighter,
I am.
I'm going to call it a rising hip hop star whose song just charted. Super excited to dive into that stuff. But more importantly, maybe not more importantly, but the real reason why I've been super excited to pick your brain, and I told you this when I messaged you on Instagram. I've been a huge fan of your music for a long time, but I'm an even bigger fan of your message and the way that you are super positive and inspiring and motivating and authentic. And I think part of what can't wait to, pick your brain about is these realities that, we have the firefighter, hunter, realities. Yeah. Also then, all the hip hop stuff. And I just think it's really cool because on paper, those things don't line up, Yeah. So do you mind humor me with the backstory? I became aware of you maybe 18 months ago, a year ago, maybe, it's
okay.
not way long ago. And I know that you've been, having some success well before then, but I'd love to hear your story, especially from the music side of things. Yeah. Have you been doing this your whole life? How did all this get started?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I have been, so to start like from the beginning, I've always loved music. It's always been something that was my passion, something that interested me. The way that I connected to it, the way that I felt like artists could explain the way that I was feeling, and it made me feel like not necessarily not alone, but like someone I could relate to, right? And so since I was young, like elementary, I've loved music. I wanted to do music. There's actually a video out there of I don't know if it's out there, but I know some people that have it of me like in elementary school, like playing a guitar with my best friend and like jamming out, like pretending like we were Def Leppard and stuff. And so I didn't actually like hip hop growing up. I guess until I was still young, in my teenage, junior high era or whatever is kind of when I started to switch to that. But before that, I tried to play the guitar, made punk music, and that was kind of what I did. When I kind of got in my teens, I started going fishing. We have a lake here in Utah. It's called Pineview, and they have a fish in it called tiger muskies.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you ever fished for them?
Yeah.
So we started going tiger muskie fishing, me and my brother Mark, and we would be driving around listening to underground hip hop, not like mainstream, but like that underground, real deep lyrical hip hop. And we'd be like out on our float too, like we'd like jerry rig a little like radio floating in like a thing, bumping music, rapping along to the lyrics. And I started rapping along with the rappers, and I loved it. And I was like, man, this is dope. And I was with my brother, and it was probably just a good memory of like, or a good experience of like a good time with my family.
Yeah.
And so I started rapping. When I got into high school, the high school I went to doesn't actually exist anymore. It was a school called Granite here. And you need adjusting something?
Nah, we're good.
We're good? Okay. So at that school, there was a lot of kids that were doing like battle raps. And are you familiar with battle raps?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'd be battle rapping, and I'd go watch, right? And I was just like rapping. And I started kind of like, okay, I want to do this. So I got into it. I started getting in these battles, and I got destroyed, like annihilated, bro. And because of the freestyle nature of that, like, do you feel like some of that early learning curve was just because lack of preparation, or you just were going for it? Just because I suck. You know what I mean? I wasn't good. Like when when you started something, you're not good.
Yeah.
And I was probably like, I don't know, like 15 or something, and I just wasn't good. But I have a really, like, I get obsessed with things, and that's kind of the way my brain works. And I just think about it. I work at it all the time, and like I can't shut that off. So like I started practicing, started like learning how to freestyle, learning how to battle, and I got good where I started winning and like crushing and doing these things, right? And started getting good at it. So I remember doing a battle one day, and I just like annihilated this dude. And I got off the stage, and my brother was watching, or it wasn't really a stage, but it was like some like hood, ghetto stage,
spot, yeah.
The ghetto spot. And I went up to him, like kind of feeling like the man, like, man, I just killed it, and I was cussing and doing a lot of things I don't do now. And he was just kind of like, yeah, that's cool, but like that's not who you are. And it like crushed me. Like it affected me that I actually stopped like battling, and I stopped kind of getting into that. And that's not me like knocking it, because there's a huge culture behind it and a lot of rappers that do it. And like I love that side of it. Like it's still something that like I respect MCs that can do it, but it just wasn't for me. So I started writing music and rapping, and at the time I wasn't doing the most like positive things in high school or whatever, and
just like the rest of us.
Yeah, just like the rest of us, like sloughing school, doing stupid things.
Slough.
But yeah.
Well, you're in Utah when someone uses
what do you guys call it?
Ditching.
All right, ditching school. Yeah. So, and I'd be writing music though while I was doing it, and that's where I developed. Like I enjoyed telling stories with my music.
Yeah.
Like about the things that I was going through, and I started to really, incorporate that aspect of my music.
So, and I think it's so interesting, because I think that's one of the coolest things about you is the authenticity that you're bringing to your craft now. I mean, it's a true art form, and you're doing it in such a unique way with the authentic storytelling and the authentic messaging that is, I think, safe to say, not mainstream in the world of hip hop, in terms of the things that you share about and the things that you tell about. When he made that comment about that's not you, was he referring to the art or the persona that you kind of felt that you were falling into in that scene, and that the art form is you? Or help me unpack that a little bit, because I think one of the interesting things you said early on there, and I think it's right aligned with why I've been so excited to speak with you, is you mentioned early on about being able to connect with music and, not feel alone and like, go through stuff through music. And I think that's why music's one of the most powerful art forms, in my opinion, is because it's got this ability to make people feel something. And I think that's Absolutely. What you've nailed now with this authenticity that you bring to it. So I'm curious, coming back to that comment of that it's not you, now that you've got the benefit of hindsight, was it because the art form was being portrayed in not an authentic way, or was it more of like, hey, you maybe need to look at the art form? Any idea on, because it sounded like that was pretty impactful, the statement at the time. Yeah.
I don't think it was necessarily like him saying the art form itself was bad. It's just me as a person, I wouldn't attack a person like on a regular basis.
Ooh, right. So instead of storytelling, it was the attacking nature of that platform.
Yeah. And along with that, like battle hip hop is it's not really personal, right? Like it's a craft that you create. I mean, like a lot of like there's a big battle community here, which is like awesome, and I respect it, and the work that they put in is amazing.
Sure.
They're creating, they're preparing, they're creating, they're doing these things, and it's not a personal. Most times it's not a personal.
Right.
Sometimes it is, but for me as a person, I don't really connect with that too much, just because like I connect with the work of like doing that, but I wouldn't do that, and the state that it puts you in, like that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And I think my brother being one of the closest people to me, he knows who I am, and he knows that I wouldn't normally kind of use something that I build to attack, right? And I think that's what he meant. And honestly, it just bothered me. Like, I really didn't think about it too much. I was just kind of like, I felt like the man, and then he shot me down, and it, obviously, reflects into what I ended up doing with it, because I still loved rap. I still loved making music, coming up with what I do.
Yeah.
So I just had to do it a different way that was more authentic to who I am, and
I feel like you've nailed that now. And it's so cool to see, like, and I apologize, I don't remember, it's Who Am I or Who I Am, the title of the song, but about mental health and, firefighting. I'm a volunteer firefighter and an EMT. I live in a very rural,
cool,
little volunteer district.
Nice.
For perspective, we have like 200 calls per year,
okay.
But when we have them,
they're serious.
They're real. There's two main highways that go through, and it's very rural, farmers and whatever. And if somebody's calling 911, they're needing it.
Yeah.
And I volunteered I'm on my 6th year now, or my 7th year.
Nice.
But, another example of where this art form that you're developing is speaking such truths in such a profound way to, I think, new audiences, that more of the standard hip hop doesn't, I don't know of a single other hip hop song about firefighter mental health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that it's cool, because my opinion, at least, would be that's where you're starting to see this exposure now, and this explosive growth that you're kind of experiencing, which remind me I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Is I think because people understand that it's coming from a real place. Like, it's coming from, real stories. So tell me about that timeline from when you started writing. We evolved from the battle rap side of things to more of the, storytelling. How many years ago was that?
Probably 15.
Wow.
Yeah, 15. I'm 33 now. So I was 15 there, 15 to 18 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know I look like I'm like 15 still, but like yeah, and it was a process, right? Like, I think just like growing up, you don't fully know who you are, and you're influenced, right? Like, my influences, everyone asks me, right? Like, what's your biggest hip hop influence? Like, is it Eminem? Is it? And it's not like one person. It's not one thing. I've been influenced by many things, and so within that 15 years of working at it, trying to like develop sound, I've tried everything. Like, I've tried making beats, the production side. I think it all has, a play in becoming who I am as an artist, because, you don't just figure it out. Like, it's not just like I just came out with a dope song that did well. Like, it's like, from that point, I went and I started writing music and started learning how to storytell. Then I started recording songs by myself on like not very good equipment, and they weren't very good songs, to be honest. And then it was like, I moved from that stage, and I have so many people that were, I have a friend, his name's Ben Blackburn. He goes by Lennox. He's on my song Salted. I wasn't, I started to figure out that aspect, but I wasn't understanding like the recording and making it like good quality. But he was recording at a real studio, and we started making music together, and he started like being like, yo, dude, you need to record your stuff on real studio stuff. So then I'm trying to sum up a lot, right? Yeah. But it's like, so then I moved to that, and I started recording with that and working with audio engineers, and then from that point, I moved into like, I'm working with these big time studios and not getting what I like not getting the sound I like, not getting the quality I like, I'm like, so it's like working at your craft every day, and working at like refining the things that are not good, like, oh, this is bad, and taking a whole lot of criticism, and weeding out the constructive from it and applying it and not being so like sensitive to like that's the biggest problem with artists, I think, is like you get criticized, you get hate, you get like right now I'm getting hate, but I'm also getting a lot of love, and I'm getting like tenfold, right? And I'm getting a lot of advice, but you know, I've kind of developed a person who I am, and now I can take the good out of the bad and apply it. And so, yeah.
Because now and I was going to make a joke that, you know, an overnight success that took 15 years to get there,
Yeah.
20 years or whatever. But, and I want to unpack what you just talked about with, you know, the current state with getting a lot of hate, getting a lot of love and things like that. But before we do, I'd love it if you could go a little bit deeper, you know, because one of the things I think is most fascinating about most people's stories is that there is so much more than everyone else realizes. Like you've been actively working on this for, you know, 2 decades, and now, you know, things are where they are. But I would imagine that those last 15, 20 years or so had a fair amount of adversity and, you know, criticism. And so I'd love to hear from you. I want to like get into your mind a little bit and hear what kept you going? Why for 15 years have you kept at it? What's been the driving force, or help me kind of understand the not quit, you know, the consistency for so long.
I think there's a part inside of all of us that knows that we have purpose, right? Like whether you know what that is doesn't matter, but there is something within all of us that is supposed to create, affect, impact, elevate. Like we're meant for more than what we're doing. And with me, I was blessed. Right? Like people don't even explore to try to find it, because if you do, you can't ignore it. It's there, right? And there's definitely been ups and downs of like doubt, discouragement. And you know, I have a coach that helps me on the fitness and mindset aspect, Mike Garrick, and I told him, you know, not a lot of people know about the times that I was in my studio broke down by myself, you know? And I guess I'll sum it up to when you know your purpose and you find a few people around you that believe in you, there's not much that you can't do. And for me, I definitely had a time that I was broken. And I remember it was just before Who Am I came out, and just before like I really went all in on this. I remember I'd had some conversations with people that I love that didn't necessarily believe in this. And it's hard to, like, it's an astronaut dream. You know, and I get it. And at the time in my life, it just felt like everyone, not just my loved ones, but like everyone, the social media, everyone was like, stop, you know, stop this. Like you got a career, you got a family, you got like, you need to focus on that. Right. And I remember coming home, and I was married, you know, came home to my wife, and in our kitchen, the house that we were renting, we didn't own it at the time, breaking down in the kitchen and just being like, maybe it's time to quit, you know? And she pretty much told me that's not an option. And if you do, I'm out, because that's not who I married. And like my wife raised me up in that moment, right? and after that, and after, it's like that calling, it's like I ignored the noise, and I realized all I could hear was my purpose, the people that did believe in me, and I went all in, and I've been all in ever since. And I have moments of doubt, and I've constantly, but it's like not doing this isn't an option.
Yeah.
And I won't stop no matter what.
I love that. I love what you said about all it takes once you've found your purpose is a few folks around you that believe in you. Like, we don't need an army. We need 3 or 4 battle buddies, I call them, guys that really have our backs and help out with it. And I just relate so much to what you're saying. I think sometimes, that idea of like finding your purpose it's terrifying because, then you're forced out of your comfort zone and you've got to like focus in on it, and those ups and downs and doubt and, those realities when you're chasing a dream. I think that's it's admirable because so many people don't have the courage to chase their dreams anyway, because if you chase a dream, you might fail. If you don't chase your dream, you're at least,
and I think
your little protection up, some walls up and some things like that. I relate to that more than and love how you worded that with just having a few people around you that believe in you. So knowing that, like, once you realize, like, okay, this is my purpose, this is my passion. You even had some nuggets in there about connecting and elevating and, those things like that. I'd imagine that there's still a fair amount of ups and downs. It's not like the journey's over at that point. Once you've decided that, once the clarity becomes, the path becomes clear because you've established your purpose. You've got the support group around you. Sounds like you have an amazing wife. By the way, my wife would say the exact same thing if I came home and, was tapping out. She'd be like, hell you are, we're going to keep going, which is amazing. But I'd imagine there's still plenty of ups and downs. Do you feel like at that point though, you get to, you can weather them better? Like they're less impactful and it's just sort of like ups and downs at that point, and there's not the self-doubt that's there before? Or walk me through kind of the evolution of, because I think it's so important for so many people to hear that, and whatever their purpose is, whatever their passion is, to once you find that, it's not like it's over. Yeah. And so what's the journey like? What are the ups and downs like from that moment forward?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that question is my song Tomorrow talks about that. Like, every day is day one, right? Like, it doesn't get any easier. It doesn't, the doubt, like, there's not times after that moment that I wasn't like broken again, and it's like, I think the key to it, right, isn't that like you're expecting to arrive, right? Because you don't. That's the truth, right? And like you were talking about, when you go after a dream, there's a chance you might fail. You are going to fail. You're going to fail 100 times. You're going to fail over and over and over and over. I have been shot down. I've been told I'm too nasally. I've been told I'm whack because of my hunting, my firefighter. I don't make sense. I don't look the part. I'm not like, and I've had my songs that I think are incredible flop, but like, you're going to fail. That's the point, is like, it's not about achieving it the first time. It's about getting back up and continuing to work, continue to try. Every day is day one. And learning from it and growing, that's the process. That's the whole point, using it to evolve, to become stronger each time, And I think for me, this has been the biggest thing recently that has, excuse me one second. This has been the biggest thing that has been a huge perspective shift for me. And this happened right before all of the hype and the amazing things that have happened that we'll talk about. When you release a song and it doesn't do well, right? You put out a song and it kind of does mediocre, and then you release another one and it gets a little hype, and then it doesn't do anything, and doesn't do anything, it doesn't do anything. It's like you have this hype build up, right? And that's how it is when you're going after your dream. Like, you have all this excitement, you have all this drive, you have all this, and then you get to a point that you're expecting something to happen and it doesn't happen. Like, and that drop, and you're lost, and it's dark, and that's where the doubt, and that's where the fear, and that's where everything attacks you, right?
Discouraged.
So for me, that's happened every time I drop a song. That happens. Like, it's like hype, love, everything, nothing. No love, no hype, only hate, only doubt, only my mind telling me to stop. And this last time I dropped a song right before all this happened, and I got a lot of love, a lot of hype. It was doing well, and then it's like, well, what now? Like, what's the next thing that I can do to get some people to listen? And instead of like trying to figure that all out in my heart and in my mind, I'm like, I already know. I got to get back to work, and I got to stop expecting results from that. You just do the work. You just go through the process because you know that's what you're supposed to do.
Because the process is critical.
Yeah.
You can't skip the process.
You can't skip the process. And I guess my point is if you're too focused on your expectation or the result or your reward or your prize, you're not focused on the work, right? So are you truly doing the best work that you can do? Are you truly giving the process everything?
Focused on the wrong things.
Yeah. Or are you giving just a mediocre effort because you're hoping that it blows up? And literally that's something that like came into my heart and into my mind right before this happened. When I had the drop off, it's like, well, I know what to do. Get back to work, turn in, go a little deeper.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, stop looking at the scoreboard and keep playing the game.
Exactly.
Like, do the work. I love that. Yeah. What a good perspective. It's so funny. So I've been visiting my parents this weekend. My dad and I went on an elk hunt Thursday, and then it was his 60th birthday, so we did a surprise party for him. But I've been on a journey of, I've been following several of my passions as well, my agency that I've started and the podcast and things like that.
Sure.
And I was sitting there in his living room telling him just a few days ago, what am I missing? I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I was literally living in those shoes of like, because I was thinking that I should be somewhere else from a results standpoint, from an outcome standpoint. And I've been down, those same ups and downs. But when I focus on the work, then you turn around and you're like, oh, there's some results. Like things have started to fall into place. Things have started to sort of happen. Yeah. What a great reminder of like doing the work and how you can't skip the process. Was that, and I'm going to, because I want to now talk about, sort of these recent happenings, but that song that you mentioned, you sort of thought would go and didn't, and the timing of that, was that The Mountain?
So The Mountain, so when I dropped The Mountain, we put so much into The Mountain, so much time, so much heart, so much like.
It's a great song.
Yeah, I think so too. And it didn't do well. And that one really took me into that place, right? That wasn't when I figured all that out. Like I was lost in The Mountain for a minute. I'm like like the hunting rapper. How is this not doing well? Like what? Like why are people not so like why are hunters not rocking with this? Like I don't get it. Like I'm like, come on, yeah. Like I just made a song about elk hunting, literally.
Yeah, literally.
Like, and I mean, I guess the song isn't necessarily about elk hunting. It's about, overcoming your, the journey on your mind. But elk hunting is where I learned a lot of those lessons.
Yeah.
So I thought it was fitting to apply a video towards that. But so it was actually weight. I dropped weight with the Marine Rapper and Kill Will. It did well, right? And it did decent. It did better than The Mountain. It had them on it, which always helps. And afterwards, I was just like in this place of like I have songs like ready, right? Like are in the works. Like I have like 10, but it's just like, what's the next thing that's gonna like get me further out there, get people to listen, because like. My songs aren't necessarily easy to make. Like I'm bleeding my heart into them, and they take a lot. And so I wasn't necessarily as discouraged, by like the response of the mountain, because I got a good response. It's like I was focused on why are these songs not like going crazy,
Right.
Like I just if I heard someone speaking to me through a song like that, I would want to rock with them, and I just was like didn't understand it, and I think the faster you can kind of catch that selfish thinking of like, why isn't my thing like and popping off,
Like, oh, poor me.
Yeah, it's like you're just being a victim. And I think the process, just like my process of figuring out who I am, it's like all these songs and all of that, every time that happened, it got to this point that I started to feel that way. And crazy story about that. So I'm at the fire station and I'm talking to my boy, Mike Garrick, my coach. He's also my engineer at the station. And we had that conversation the night before. And I'm like talking to him like, and the next day I get up and I'm sitting at the table by myself and I'm like kind of hypocritical. Like I'm talking to my boy about these things and we're having this deep and I'm spouting off, but it's like, I'm not doing the work and letting go of the results. And I finally felt like in my heart, I'm like, all right, like, let's go. Let's lace up. Let's do this. Within 5 minutes, my phone started saying, saw you on JRE, I heard about you on JRE. Jerry. And I'm like, what is JRE? You know what I mean? I'm like, what? And I was trying to write a song at the table, I was listening to beats and stuff, and we didn't have anything going on at that moment. So, and then I figured it out, right? I went and saw a cam, went on there, and it was interesting to me that happened in that moment.
And wasn't it an accident?
Yeah,
and it started playing a little bit, which spurred the conversation. Well, I mean, what a great
shout out young Jamie on that one. I think so. He was trying to play a video of a bull that Cam shot, and I think he just played one of the podcast starts where my intro is the podcast, so it started playing just like YouTube or whatever. So I think it was an accident, but I'm super grateful.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it's cool too, and I want to hear about that, but talking about the process too, you wrote that song a long time ago. I mean, at least I don't know the exact timeline, but that song's been out for a while.
Yeah.
And now it's getting what I'll call the exposure it deserves.
Yeah.
And so it's another testament to like trusting the process, because that was part of the process a year ago.
Yeah.
Or however long ago, and now today, charting, and didn't it end up at number 8?
Number 6.
Number 6. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
So and in fact, there's probably people listening that don't know the context. So sure. I'll share that, and then I want to hear your experience since then, the good and the bad and everything. But for anybody listening, you've got a song called Cam Hanes, and it's the intro to Cameron Haynes's podcast, which is not Lift Run Shoot. It's
the Keep Hammering
Collective. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cameron Haynes was on Joe Rogan's podcast and played your song while trying to watch a different video of Cam Haynes, and it literally went viral from there and blew up. And then it was mentioned a second time on Joe Rogan, which is just really cool. One of the things I think was, and it speaks to your character and why I think I've been so drawn to having a conversation with you, is I've mentioned now several times your authenticity, but it was so cool. And I think it's your trainer who you were with, but you guys were on shift at the fire station in your firefighter, in your casual firefighter shirts. Joe Rogan Experience is playing on the TV. You're filming with the clip and you're celebrating, and you wore the excitement of the moment on your sleeve, which was so refreshing, because so many times now, I don't know, people think they got to be all like calm, cool, and collected, and I don't know, kind of stoic about stuff. But I'm that way. When great things happen, I'm like the happiest,
Yeah.
the whole world knows it. And that clip that you shared stands out to me so much. The experience really cool. What was even cooler to me was to see how excited you were and how impactful, it was in this like genuine excitement. And this has been, maybe it's been a month ago now. It's been a few weeks for sure.
2 or 3 weeks.
So now that we've got the background and some of the context, do you mind, kind of what have things been like since then?
Yeah, it's been pretty unreal. Like after that happened, he mentioned it again, like on I think this following, not the following one, but the one after. And I honestly, I started to kind of receive some like love or some people following and listening and stuff. I definitely saw an impact. Then the day that he said it the second time, I just happened to look online or on the chart thing. I was like, I have like the Marine rapper who I've done songs with, his charted, and him and Topher made a song called The Patriot that went #1 for a while. And so I just was like, I wonder. So I checked and I was like, oh, it's not there. Like I looked at like 200 because I'm like, no way I'm any higher than 200. And then scrolled up, saw it at like 108, and I'm like, what? So I just freaked out. And I actually wrote Cam. I'm like, yo, dog, we're like 108 right now. And he was like, it was a good conversation between me and him. But then, since then it's just it went to number 6. I posted videos about it, started kind of posting about it, and those videos started to do really well, getting a lot of views and people interacting. I've seen a huge change in my numbers, as far as like people listening and people engaging and people being introduced. Like it was really cool to me to see The Mountain getting love.
Yeah.
Like it's the second most played video. Like, and I'm like, that one meant a lot to me. So like the fact that it's getting love, like I was just like so grateful, and it's been unreal. Like the support, the people reaching out, the messages, the people finding finding these songs that I've wrote like years ago about things that mattered to me, and having it affect them, and having it like them write me these personal messages of experiences. I don't want to share all like that. Some of them are pretty deep, and it's just like really cool because that's what I was hoping for, right? Like that's why I do this. That's like I'm not doing this because I want to be rich. I'm not doing this because I want to be famous. Matter of fact, I hate being in front of the camera. Like I absolutely hate.
No wonder I'm having camera issues today.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I my wife, that's her thing, right? Like she's videographer, but like I hate it. I just want to make music and put it out and have people resonate.
Which is why you're going to be successful. And that's so cool to hear. I want to unpack that a little bit more because, you talk about these exciting things and, the new exposure and the new audience and, the play numbers. I mean, all this great lift, I'll call it, since the new exposure.
Yeah.
And the thing you're the most excited about isn't any of that. It's not new Instagram followers. It's the fact that you're impacting more people.
Yeah.
That is powerful. I mean, it speaks to, again, the authenticity that you're bringing to your art. And I just think that that's so powerful because you can tell that you really are coming from a place of where you're writing these stories with the intention to actually impact, lift and inspire and all that stuff. It's just wild. So has that been, you've mentioned kind of all of the messages and, things like that. What does that feel like? I mean, are you feeling, tell me how it feels, when you're seeing these things. Do you feel satisfied, proud? What's the primary emotion you're feeling when you're realizing that you're starting to impact more people?
Just I'm grateful.
Gratitude.
And I'm humbled that it means something to them, because it means something to me. And, that's why I started making music, is artists impacted me. And when it's just me and that artist in those headphones, it's just me with them relating, understanding, you know, whether it's motivating, whether it's a heartbreak song, whatever it is, that's what music is about, right? Connecting. And the fact that they're connecting with stuff that I wrote from my heart, and that I'm just grateful.
Yeah. Well, and it means it's a real connection.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, because you mentioned earlier, you know, love and hate. Has it all been positive? Are you getting some of the, you know, the other side of the coin too?
Yeah, of course. You know, I think with the hate, it's like I've had hate, you know, since I've started it, right? Like there's always been people hating on me, saying like this, that, whatever. And honestly, it doesn't really bother me. Like, it's not for everybody. Like, that's the point, right? Like, and I don't expect everyone to like it. I don't expect everyone to be like, you're the best rapper. This is like that's the point, right? We're all supposed to like different things. If we all like the same thing, that'd be stupid. So it's fine. I think it affects probably the people that care about me more than it affects me, like, because they read it and, you know, see that. But it's like, I don't expect haters not to hate. Like, they're going to, but like, I wish, and if there's people hating on me right now that are listening, I really wish you could take your energy and apply it towards something positive in your life. Because like what are we doing? Like, what is like spending that energy doing for you? Like, rise above it. Like, hate on me, but like, then like, do it quick so you can get back to work. Like, stop. You know what I mean? Like, what is it doing? So
yeah, I without telling too much detail, but there's a saying that resonates with me, and it's this idea that when you're chasing your dreams, people cheer for you because you remind them of their dreams. But when you're at the top, people no longer cheer for you because you remind them that they gave up on theirs. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this kind of like, the point of it is usually hate is a reflection of something that has nothing to do with you, you know?
Yeah.
I had a experience without doing any detail, but I started an agency a couple of years ago, and we've experienced rapid success. Like we've it's been really great, been a really, really cool ride. And I had somebody actively trying to tear it down. Mm-hmm. And man, it impacted me. Like there was times when, you know, I was so upset about it, and like my feelings were hurt, and I was so, cause I still am, you know, insecure and like doing the best I can to, you know, make this thing happen. And
sure,
it's so hard to sometimes separate. And this is my question, the reason I'm teeing that up. So especially when it relates to art, and I see it all the time with my production department and my graphic designers and, you know, things like that. When it's your art form, it's so difficult to separate the self from the thing, right? Like Shafer from the song, mm-hmm. Shafer from the, you know, the whatever it is, the outcome. And while it's so powerful to have these connections resonated, and, you know, this positive feedback and you know, this uplifting experiences from connecting with people and the message getting heard, my question to you is as an artist, how do you separate yourself from the art and draw the line between what feedback you allow yourself to feel? You know, because the good stuff's great and the bad stuff's not. Part of me wonders if that's not a little conflicting of, you know, like, how do we only listen to part of it?
Mm-hmm. So crazy thought with that. So the hate and all that, a lot of it you can't like resonate because a lot of it's not true, right? So
that's an easy one.
Yeah. Right? But let me explain something that happened to me before all this happened with Cam Hanes. So last year, cut a bunch of weight. You know what I mean? And at the beginning of the year, we had some setbacks. Even on the Impossible Task Challenge, I've had some setbacks. Like, whether I make it or not doesn't matter. It's about like getting, like, not stopping, right?
It's
the process. So with Cam Hanes initially coming out, before it got all this, it was still doing well, right? Like, people liked the song and were using it, doing these incredible things. So as an artist, I'm watching all these people do these incredible things when I've had a setback, right? And it's like people are playing my song, and it's me in the video with them as they're conquering it. They're doing but I'm not. And for a while, the responsibility of like I'm not an athlete, I'm not, but I'm someone that doesn't quit, And I will say for a time, it was like, man, am I like a fraud? Like what you're talking about, right? I'm starting to but I'm like, no, because I know what I wrote that from, and I know where that's at, and I lean into that. And I think focusing on the noise too much, whether it's like that should be a good thing, right? Like seeing that, which it is. Don't get me I love seeing people.
Oh, but I get it. I can totally see how, because you've got a normal life.
Yeah.
Ups and downs, just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
And you've put out this piece of art that highlights ups. Right? It's,
yeah.
I use it on my stories from time to time when I'm like crushing a run or whatever,
yeah.
But I don't use it on my stories when I'm having a bad day.
Yeah. Nobody does it. Nobody's feeling like campaigns when they're
right.
And I can't imagine the pressure that he feels.
Yeah.
Like he's not perfect either. You know what I mean? And it's like, how hard would that be? Or for athletes, I see why people I just got a minor taste of it. And I'm like, but the way that I reframed it is it's not about the failure. It's not about the setback. It's not about the noise, whether it's hate, whether it's that, whether it's about, I had my audio engineer, his name's Dakota G. Honestly, him and my wife have been my team. I look to him for advice and music and everything. And I remember him telling me something. I was looking for a way to spike my song, get attention. And he's like, bro, you have good music. Stop focusing so much outward and turn inward. And there's the same time that I was feeling that. And turn into what right? Your purpose is always there. The good, your reasons are always there. Your why is always there. It doesn't lie. It doesn't change. And from that, you can create. If you're focused on outwardly things that are talking to you, you're not creating purely. You're creating out of the noise, out of other people's expectations. And for me, that's what I try to do now. And it's still hard, But this recent thing with all the attention and stuff, it hasn't bothered me. And I think that's because I'm trying to turn inward. The day that it happened, I literally left my phone in the other room and I recorded day one.
Yeah.
Just because I'm
the day that it happened?
The day it happened. My phone's blowing up. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages and this and that. And I'm like.
But it's still day one.
It's still day one. And I went in and I'm excited. I'm excited for you and everybody listening to hear it because that's the energy I put into that song.
Yeah.
It's day one. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that's cool. Doesn't matter. I am an artist. I need to be back in my art.
Well, and there's no surprise that that's what works. So I come from the marketing world, but people are desperate for real connection now because we're living in such this world with, coming back to this idea of not worrying about the outcome and just doing the work, doing the process, doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing and not trying to have the numbers or go viral or whatever. That's why it works because people can see right through, for anybody out there who's a creator. I mean, if it's the podcast or music or whatever, if you're doing it to try to get an outcome, people see right through that because we're so savvy now as consumers and we're living in such a content saturated world now anyway. The authentic stuff's the only stuff that
people
sticks.
Resonate with.
Yeah, because they know it. And I think that's why you're starting to see the success that you're seeing because you're leaning into the authenticity and who you actually are with it. I mean, I can feel it, from the And I've wrestled with conflicting opinions on that topic. Because on one hand, social media connected you and I.
Yeah.
Social media, creates communities and gives us an audience. And, there's a lot of really great things that can happen with social media. There's so many bad things, the addictions and, I don't know, head down on it. So I'm just kind of curious your take from the social media, perspective. How do you balance that? Like you mentioned even then earlier, turning your phone off to go record day one. How are you personally, finding the balance between like the good versus, not letting it be the poison that it can be?
Yeah. That's hard. I think we all deal with it. It's all a struggle. But there's a book that Nick D wrote. I don't know if you know who that is. He's an artist. But he said in it, he's like, if you can focus on consuming less and creating more, right? Like, I think any business, if you look at any business model, it's about providing value to the people you're trying to provide value to. And I think that's why when we're consuming or we're doing it for a reason of trying to get paid or trying to like make it or be famous or whatever, it doesn't come off authentic, because what are you doing it for? Selfish reasons. So it's hard. I don't have an answer for it, right? I wrote that song because obviously I deal with it too.
Yeah.
But I think if you can look at the tasks that you're doing and you're like, am I doing this for a selfish reason? Or am I doing this, to try to do good? Like, that's going to solve it in itself, because like, right, if you're scrolling through content for 4 hours, are you giving what you could to your family? Are you giving to what you could to your purpose, your body, your mind? Like, I believe there has to be things like, you spend time, you watch a movie with your family, that's great. But do I believe in like Netflixing, which I've done it. I ain't knocking it for like 20 hours. No, like, we're meant to do good. So every task and every choice that we make, I have a line in the song that's coming out. It actually comes out at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. Today. Well, it's 10 o'clock Mountain because it comes out in New York 12 o'clock.
Got it. Okay,
so it's usually a little early over here. But I have a line. I'm like, what's the first part of it? So it's crazy. Sometimes my songs, I don't even write them. I'm just like, I write part of it and then I rap the rest.
Yeah.
So, but I know the main part. It's one good choice and my light came on. And the point of that is like saying like one choice can change everything, right? The reason why I have this song for Cam Haynes' podcast is because I took one picture, that was based off of making one video while my wife was getting ready for an elk hunt. Like, I was just like, hey, can you film this real quick while I shoot my bow? Which Cam saw. Then at Christmas time, I was giving out his book and Goggins' book for Christmas, and I'm sitting down in my studio again in that lost state, like, oh man, what am I gonna do? Yeah. So when you think about it like that, like, I can sit here and scroll social media, or when you're doing it, you're like, you know what, I should probably go do this because this is going to be a better option. That could change your life. But it's like, we don't do that, right? We're like, oh, this isn't hurting anything. This isn't, but is it? Or could it change everything?
Yeah.
So I think everything we say, everything we do, if we look at it like, is this going to bring value to my life, to the people I love's life, to others' lives? Then you're going to make that choice. And that's how I try to deal with it. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I am, because I still struggle every day. But that's what I would say is a better option. That's something to think about. You know?
I love it. And it's as simple as create more than you consume.
Yeah.
I've got a philosophy that's giver's gain. And I really believe that the best way to win is to help others win and to, pour out as much as you can, trust that it will come back
100%.
and it will. And it always does in indirect ways, like never how you expect it to.
Yeah.
But I always just live with that philosophy that givers gain. And I think that, create versus consume is right along the lines with it. It's a great way to look at that because it is such a great platform when used properly.
Sure.
I've got a couple other questions. So you're mentioning about the kind of that moment with the Cam Hanes song and things like that. Forgive me, but because he's got the part in it, how did the order? Because I've heard you tell the story of, and we won't have time to unpack all this. I wish we did, but I have another philosophy, which is that how we make people feel matters. And you've told the story before of writing that song and just going off a feel. Like the words weren't even there, and you're like got the rhythm going, and it's a feeling, not necessarily words yet. And that resonated with me in such a big way because I'm a feeling guy.
Yeah.
Like I lead with heart. I'm all about how we make people feel matters. And so I think it's fascinating. But I know that you've got his like verbal. He speaks at the beginning of it. How did all that work out? Was that recorded specifically for the song? Was that a soundbite that you took elsewhere? Like, how did all of that come together?
So, yeah, he didn't actually. So that is from his book. So I was, I like you said, I've talked about it before. I woke, like he told me that the night I woke up the next day. Like I was like, man, what am I supposed to make a song about? Like I like him. I like what he's about, but like, how do you make a song that doesn't come off corny about someone, right? Like, I don't want to be corny. And created that energy. That's how I created the song. So, I don't remember if I sent him the clip with him in it. I think I did. So I actually
like a sample.
Mm-hmm. So I took, I had the first verse written, the first verse and the bridge. I didn't have the chorus on it, like the part where I say feeling like Cam Hanes. Up to that point, I had it done. And I was like, man, this is a long freaking intro. Like, what am I going to put here? And I was like, luckily, I just listened to his book again on Audible. And I was like, wasn't there a part at the end that was kind of cool? Or like and I just listened and I was like, oh, that's cool. I literally screen recorded it and threw it in there. And then
that's how it happened.
Yeah, I screen recorded it, converted it to audio, threw it in there. And then I was like, I need something else. I need some elks. So I had like 6 bulls bugling at the beginning. It was like all elks everywhere coming out, right? And I took a breather from it, showed it to some people, and they're like, man, there's freaking elks everywhere. So I cut some of the elks out, and then I sent it to my boy Dakota, and I was like, I need this like as fast as you can get it. And he had me a mix by like the next morning.
And then you sent that.
And I sent that to Cam, and he loved it. I don't think my vocals on Roy was real clear, so it sounded like I was saying Ray, but so that's why the Roy is like very drawn out, because I wanted it to be clear, because I know how important that is to me. So he was like, I love it, except for it sounds like you're saying Ray. Like, I am Ray Tough. So I fixed that. Then, so here's another crazy, I haven't told anybody this part yet. So the song that's coming out tomorrow, the first part of the chorus was actually written for that song.
No way.
Yes. So, on day one, give me them odds nobody wants. I'll give you my heart. I carry the work. Give me that impossible task. I'll give you that unbreakable courage. Like that part was actually written for this chorus of this song that's coming out tomorrow. And I did it to Cam Hanes and it worked. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. And then I tailored the rest of the chorus to fit, the subject. But the reason why this song hasn't come out is because once you have a song in your head, it's really hard to create something else. But yeah, so the first part of the chorus was written the song day one. And yeah, so then I wrote the chorus. I think I finished the song in like a week. It was like 5 or 6 days. I was just locked in my studio.
Yeah.
Because I thought his podcast was coming out. Like, so I was trying to get it done. I was trying to get it out. Send it to him. I released it before his podcast came out because I thought it was coming out. Yeah. His podcast didn't come out for like 4 weeks after. So
it's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's that idea that, you know, process and consistency and doing the work, the right thing at the right time, creating more than you're consuming. I mean, all of these themes that we've discussed sort of collide, you know, in that song. And it's just the coolest thing ever. I have one other question before we run out of time, but The Mountain is one of my favorite songs. It resonates with me in a huge way. And I love the singing portion of it, which I believe her name's Ellie.
Yep.
You had mentioned to me that there's a little bit of a backstory, you know, with her part. And before we do, you and her, and I don't know if you've done other songs together or what, you know, I don't know all of your music, but I know enough to be dangerous. But you just sound so great together. And there's even other songs of yours where the beat is in a similar tone of her voice. And I can just tell that it's like, I don't know. I love how they sound together. And you were telling me that there's a backstory with Ellie and all that. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So that story is crazy. So that chorus for Ellie, I wrote it. A lot of the choruses I write for the singers. I wrote that chorus like 3 years ago, and I wrote the song. I had like part of the first verse, and I actually wrote that song. So I was on Instagram consuming, and I saw Jelly Roll posted a thing saying he was doing features, and this is before the Ballad of the Broken, before he went freaking nuclear, blown up, right? He's like, I'm doing features. Reach out to my, I don't know if it's his boy. It's like 50 something boss man or whatever. Like he was dealing with the features, so I reached out, and I'm like, yo, I love Jelly Roll. Reached out. He sent me back a quote like to do the chorus. It was like I don't know if I should say it was like $6,000 or something, you know. I'm just a firefighter. I'm not like, you know, like which $6,000 looking at it, you know, for a Jelly Roll feature now is like insane.
In hindsight,
like,
sure.
Yeah, I'd sell a car to do that, right? But I wrote it for him because I was like, that would be insane if I ever could do that. And at the time, I just couldn't swing it.
Yeah.
Right? A few months later, I reached out again. Jelly was like on the rise, and he's like, dude, it'll be like $10,000 now. I'm like, oh, there's no way.
Yeah.
So I wasn't on TikTok then. And a friend of mine, RJ, he's a part of a singing group called Northwest Stories. Yeah. He's going to be pissed that I butchered that. But, he was like, yo, why don't you put it up on TikTok as a duet and see like if singers will sing on it, and tell them that you'll pay for their stuff. So I was like, all right, I did it, put it up, and I got like I would say maybe 60, 70 singers all trying to like get it. So I'd pay for their studio time and feature them on it. And Ellie was the winner. So Ellie won it, and I was like, she crushed it. And I paid for her to go to the studio in Colorado. She knocked it out, got it to me fast. Then I just struggled with the lyrics of The Mountain. Like literally, I went down to Phoenix to open up for Futuristic. He's another rapper. He's kind of known there as like Phoenix's rapper, right? And I was opening up for him, and on the plane ride, I finished it. And then I finished the other verse when I got back home, and then still like another year went by and I didn't put it out. And then finally, because I was like, it meant so much to me how much I put into the lyrics, like the depth of aligning, like going up a mountain and overcoming these obstacles in your mind.
Yeah.
Like it just meant so much to me. So I was like, we got to have the right video for it. So a lot of these lessons I learned while hunting with my dad and with my brothers. So I was like, it would be fitting to do an elk hunt. So I'm like, how do we do that? and we started working at it and got the video done and put it out. So Ellie was a winner of a contest for a song that I wrote hoping to have Jelly Roll on it. And then Jelly Roll went like crazy, right? And like everybody I know is like, man, you're stupid. Like, could you imagine?
$6,000, yeah. Right? Now it'd be 60
Yeah.
probably. But how cool. And I think meant to be though too. Like, again, part of the process and the production quality of that video, you know, if your wife hears this, it is so great. And it was so fun seeing the behind the scenes with, you know, the elk quarters and all of that stuff. It's just been, it's so cool to watch your journey and you know, like I said, to see the authenticity that you bring to it all. And so I want to thank you so much for giving me your time today, because I know it's a Sunday, it's the evening, you've got places to be in. I know your time's valuable. So thank you for that. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for being authentic. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for creating an art form that connects people and that's real and raw. And the world needs more of that. Thank you for creating more than you consume and all of these things that we've talked about. It's just great. And I hope you know thousands of people, and so it matters. And so I really want to thank you for that. So I've got a gift for you. It's the Inspire by Example shirt, because it's all tangled, because you inspire me through your example and the life that you're living and the art that you're creating and the stories that you're telling. And I just can't thank you enough, Shafer. It's been so awesome getting to pick your brain, and I would keep talking to you for hours if I didn't have my studio rental wrapped.
I got you.
But seriously, thank you so much, and keep doing what you're doing, because it matters and it's impactful.
Hey, brother, I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.